Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Launched in 2025, this is both the 20th anniversary Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean and the 4th generation of the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean. The timepiece in my hand is a combination of stainless steel with a grade 5 titanium caseback, and it features the orange accents that were perhaps the defining detail and signature of the original Planet Oceans back when they bowed in 2005. So as part of the 4th generation, this feels pretty much like it might be the core model of the collection. So it's smaller. 42 millimeters in diameter, it's thinner. Now they claim 13.8, I measure 14 millimeters thick. That's still quite good. And you can also see that the lug-to-lug is 47.4 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Omega describes the previous Planet Ocean as approximately 16.1 millimeters thick, so this watch is considerably slimmer even at 14 millimeters. And on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it fits beautifully. Being so short from lug to lug, it wears far smaller than your average 42 millimeter sports watch, and it's thinner in profile. That holds up when viewed from this cuff shot. Easy enough to slide beneath a sleeve, over the top, which would never have previously had lugs inboard the edge of my wrist, because this is the angle that exaggerates the width of a watch. The old Planet Ocean in 42 millimeters was never this short across the wrist. I could actually recommend this for a wrist as small as 15 and maybe even 14 centimeters circumference if your wrist is flat across the top. Although it looks like we're dealing with integration here, and we are to a degree with the end link, we do have a conventional 21 millimeter lug spacing underneath. Just keep in mind that this little end insert is designed to complete the aesthetic of the watch. And although you could put another strap on here, the factory strap is designed to conform to the contour of that little end link insert. The strap features newly molded patterns, taper down towards the clasp. You can see a little wave motif on the bottom because it is a dive watch. No crimping, no gouging, brand new Omega factory strap, folding clasp with a combination of polish and satin, twin trigger release, you must press both to open it up. Then it has a system where you have a pin and then two little lobes, and those lobes help to hold the strap down, close it all up, size it all up. The excess length hides underneath the straps. There's no need for minor loops. It's a very clean look. You can see internally satin and polish, rolling around the case. No more lyre-style lugs. Instead, we have a design that's probably influenced more by the 1970s 1660251 than any other Seamaster precedent. So it's angular, it's faceted, it has polish and satin, curves and creases. It's an athletic look, and no, your eyes don't deceive you. This watch no longer features the helium gas escape valve. It seems that Omega has resorted to 3 changes in order to streamline the appearance of the watch and also make it thinner. One is eliminating the calendar function, the other is eliminating the helium escape valve, and the last is eliminating the display caseback. Display casebacks add thickness, and thus that is gone. Taking a look at the bezel, you can see it has a combination of satin and polish, as does the crown, a combination of media blast, satin, and polish. It is a screw-down crown. The watch is still 600 meters, and yes, that is still an approximation of the conversion between the two. But look at the otherwise superb attention to detail. That 6 and that 6 are the same font. They're open 6s, open 9s, just like on the first generation of the Planet Ocean. Now, the dial features quarter Arabic numerals, applique indices, vintage-style broad arrow minute and hour hands. We have a 120-click unidirectional rotating bezel. It's very positive and crisp. I would say this is the best feeling and best sounding Omega dive bezel, and because of the knurling, it's easy to grip with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands. The insert is ceramic for scratch resistance. You can see there's a little chimney or a metal ring between the crystal and the bezel to provide a little bit of a buffer against impact and damage. Then we have this somewhat dramatically boxed crystal design with white cold enamel fill for the numerals. Let's take a look at the watch in the dark. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. You'll see that the watch is quite luminescent and bright. Now we've got a green bezel index and a green minute hand, so you can read those two important timing references relative to each other at a glance. And note that all three hands are lumed, including the seconds hand, so you know if you're diving deep or you're diving at night that your dive timer is operating. I always love dive watch bezels. I find them more useful than a chronograph and definitely cheaper to service down the line. You can see it's an all-applique dial, including the Omega logo and marquee with a chapter ring style outboard sector for reading the seconds and minutes. Now the watch has an 8900 series movement, this caliber 8912, so you get the independently mobile traveler's hour hand as you jump time zones. Note it doesn't stop the minutes or the seconds. Now you pull everything out and you do activate the hacking seconds function. Very precise setting here, very little dead angle. When you move the crown, the minute hand starts moving almost immediately. We've got a matte sort of anthracite gray, dark gray dial, and it doesn't appear to be made of ceramic. So the zirconium oxide Omega ceramic dials would almost always have zirconium oxide's chemical symbols on the dial. This does not have that, and I suspect that's another measure that was taken to thin out the watch, using a conventional dial rather than one made of ceramic. Nothing to see under the case back, but it is the 8912, so 2 barrels in series, bidirectional automatic winding, 60-hour power reserve, time zone hour hand, stop seconds, full balance bridge and a free sprung balance for shock resistance, anti-magnetic silicon hairspring, balance staff and escapement, anti-magnetic to over 15,000 Gauss or 1.5 Tesla. That is a minimum, not a maximum. Has a beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour, which seems to be specific to the silicon hairspring. And the watch features a master chronometer certification, so it will have been tested as a fully cased up watch to run no worse than -0 plus 5 seconds per 24 hours, better than COSC, and again, a cased up watch test, not a bare movement test. Also tested for water resistance to 125% of the rated diving depth. That's because it's an ISO 6425 diver. Back to the Maytas chronometer test, it would have been tested for durability, water resistance, winding efficiency, power reserve. All of that goes into the standard, which was created in conjunction with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology. And the movement is a robust one. A timekeeper that is both accurate and shock-resistant, anti-magnetic, protected to deep depth against water, with a coaxial escapement. It is a tri-level coaxial, so a double impulse system using tangential friction, which is less than the sliding friction of a Swiss lever. Created by George Daniels of Britain, the system was industrialized by Omega from 1999 forward and allows the watch with superior chronometry, reduced maintenance requirements, and improved power reserve. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.